Well, we're just 2 days away from the NBA draft, and we're here to get you prepared for Thursday night. Cade Cunningham looking to become the highest drafted player ever from Oklahoma State. Cunningham led the Big 12 in scoring, was the only freshman to make the AP first team All-American last season. Taking a look at the lottery order with the Pistons picking first for the first time in more than 50 years. Will they select the number one presumptive overall in Cunningham? That's what our Kyle Boone is saying, according to his latest mock draft. You see there, we've got the Magic with picks 5 and 8. The Warriors also with a couple lottery picks in the top 10. So let's dive in and welcome in our college basketball writer, Kyle Boone. So Cade Cunningham is being talked about as the clear number one, but it hasn't always been this way. So how has he separated himself from the rest of the pack?
Yeah, Jenny, there's a few things working in Cade's favor here to go number one overall. The first is the ideal positional size. He's 6'8" and he plays on the wing, plays like a point guard. That really stands out when you can kind of lead the team as kind of the primary ball initiator. That helps his case. The skill set just stands out as well. He's a jumbo shot creator who can shoot off the dribble. He passes at a really high level. He knows when to be assertive and when to get others involved, just kind of thinks the game like a point guard at a really high level. And then defensively, just a high level IQ. He knows when to help off, when to gamble, when to switch on to bigger or smaller players. The two-way upside for Cade Cunningham is higher in this draft than anyone else in this draft. And that's why I expect on Thursday night with the number one pick, the Detroit Pistons will select Cade Cunningham.
Yes, coach at Oklahoma State said he's one of the greats, once in a lifetime person, not just a player, a person. So it'll be really exciting to follow his journey. Now behind him, we've got Jalen Green, Evan Mobley, Jalen Suggs, three guys who can potentially go in that 2 spot. If the consensus is Cunningham at 1, does the draft really start at 2?
Yeah, Jenny, I think that's right. Cade is expected to go number 1. The big question is what the Houston Rockets do at number 2. They've got 3 really solid options, one being Evan Mobley, the 7-footer out of USC, who is kind of a unicorn in many ways, moves kind of like a wing, but can block shots at a really high level. The way he moves and creates for his size is really special. There's scouts who have told me that they think he may be the best prospect long-term in this draft. Another one is Jalen Suggs out of Gonzaga, a guy who's going to be kind of a lead guard at the next level, competitive two-way game, and I think just passes at a high level and can create just kind of a true point guard in a lot of ways. And then finally, Jalen Green is the guy that I think is probably most likely to go number 2 in this draft. He's the best pure scorer in this draft, a guy who I think can lead the NBA someday in scoring. And the way he can create his own shot in the NBA right now, I think is just a perfect fit, and someone that, compared with his athleticism, I think he's someone that would make a lot of sense for the Rockets to draft him at number 2 and hopefully build around him long term.
My guy Tommy Tran, a big fan of Jalen there. So I think that the draft is all about success stories. We want to see players out there go out, have a great time, and have successful careers. So give me a player who's come on late, someone who might sneak their way into the top 10, a rising star, if you will.
It's James Bouknight. I don't think there's any question about it. He is an explosive athlete. He's a creative scorer coming out of UConn. Now, there's some questions coming out about James Bouknight, specifically because he had an elbow injury during the season. He had surgery during the season. He came back during the season, and a lot of his efficiency took a pretty big nosedive. His three-point shooting numbers were down when he came back. His field goal percentage was down when he came back. He wasn't getting to the line as frequently as he was before the injury, but he has really answered a lot of questions during the pre-draft process, has made a really strong impression in private workouts for teams. He's making shots at a high level, and when you look at kind of his statistical profile, he's a great free throw shooter. He's one of the best finishers around the rim in this draft. He has really good touch as a shooter, and yes, he shot below 30% from 3 last season as a sophomore, but the number suggests that in time, the efficiency, I think, is going to bump back up. If he is indeed a 35% three-point shooter instead of a 29% three-point shooter, we could be talking about, I think, one of the best 5 prospects in this draft. And now I think on draft night, he has a chance to go top 6 in this draft. That was certainly not the case even a month ago.
Big statement there, averaging almost 19 points per game, something I love to see out of a player from my home state. Go UConn. All right, what about a player who's fallen down the list? One of those guys that might be stuck waiting for his name to be called, and hopefully they don't have a camera on him and his family, and it's a little awkward. Who do you got?
It's Keon Johnson from Tennessee. Now, Keon has a really interesting athletic profile. He broke the vertical combine record in terms of just pure leaping ability last month at the combine. He's a crazy athlete. He's a really good defender. He has some interesting ball skills in terms of what he can do as a creator. I think his ceiling is maybe like Davion Mitchell light at the NBA level, but the shot really isn't quite there yet. He's still pretty raw overall in terms of what he can bring to the table on offense. There's just a lot of questions about Keon Johnson. I think his draft range on draft night is going to be pretty wide. He could go inside the top 10. I don't think there's any question about it. There's also a chance that Keon Johnson perhaps slips to the 20s, and I don't think people would bat an eye. I think if someone is enamored with the athleticism and kind of the physical tools, wouldn't be surprised to see him go early, but there's a chance I think that he slips late in the draft because of that as well.
Always going to be an interesting situation watching those guys, just hoping that they get that call. All right, I'm a baseball girl. We're going to look ahead to Thursday. Give me a draft curveball of the night.
Yeah, okay, let me wind up for my pitch here. So I think Memphis moving up to trade into the top 10 is the curveball that I'm predicting. Now, Monday, they traded from number 17 to number 10 with the expectation, according to ESPN, that they may be targeting Josh Giddey. There's also a report out there now that they are interested in James Bouknight, who we just talked about, or Jonathan Kuminga. Neither of those guys are going to be available at number 10, and I think there's a chance that they are aggressive on draft night. They perhaps crash inside the top 10 and go after either a Bouknight or a Kuminga. I think there's a chance, just because the assets that they have and the fact that they're already pretty aggressive, that they go and get after either a Bouknight or a Kuminga. I think they could really shake up draft night in a big way.
You heard it here first. Kyle, thank you for joining us here on HQ. We're excited for Thursday. We'll be talking to you much more as we get ready for the NBA draft. Taking a look at Kyle's mock draft that you've worked so hard on. Of course, we have Cade Cunningham going first overall to Detroit. The Pistons with their first lottery pick for the first time in more than 50 years. And then, of course, you got the Magic there with a couple of picks at 5 and 8. The Warriors also getting some opportunities to get some key talents. And we talked a little bit about James Bouknight. Kyle Boone having him go number 6 to Oklahoma City.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.